Hey, what's going on, Trojan family? Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. We are Los Angeles sports, talking all things USC Trojans with you. Spring portal is officially open as of Wednesday. So far, no big departures. A few, but ones that I don't know if all of them were necessarily expected, but definitely not shocking. Wish these young men the best, but I don't think it was ones that were going to be ample to the USC Trojans' success this season. But I'll talk briefly on that. Quickly look at a few targets and visits. I'm actually going to put together this weekend. We'll see how fast the transfer portal moves. But I'm going to put together this weekend kind of top 5 targets for USC. So I want to prepare that, be a little better prepared for that. So I'll just mention a few today that we know are visiting, but I think there's a few that they will really go after. I mean, there's not a huge need on this team. So I'll talk about that briefly. And then a quick recruiting update, big one, as regards to the defense in the 26 class. So stick right here with the USC LAFB show. I'm Ryan Dyer. Let's get right into it. Spring portal open. We knew about the departure of Amari and Peterson, running back, a few weeks ago. Was announced. Talked about that, so we don't need to get into that, but that officially happened on Wednesday. And then the other one that kind of came through was Lorenzo Cowan, edge prospect. Or I guess he'll be a redshirt freshman. He's still currently, I know it's funny to talk about because the school year's not over yet, so he's still currently a true freshman. But he was in the 24 recruiting class. And talented kid, 6'3-ish, 215, perfect build for an edge player. But kind of, I think, again, things could change. I mean, he's super young. But kind of the trending was he was getting kind of buried down the depth chart. Now, edge is not a position that has a ton of depth right now. But it would have been very unlikely for him to see playing time this year. And based on the 25 kids coming in and this new 26 class that is really emphasizing the defensive line, the trenches, and some of those, kind of are those tweeners, edge, or, 3 techs, 5 techs, or sliding in line. It was just seeming like he was a little bit getting pushed out on the depth chart. And then also he is a Georgia kid from Savannah, Georgia. So, when I first announced it and wrote about it, I said potentially he's going to turn the SEC. He did already. Not even in the portal 24 hours. He signed with Kentucky in the SEC, obviously much closer to home there. So, again, you never want to see kids leave that committed here. You'd love to keep your recruiting classes all together. But this isn't one that, and I don't mean this in any disrespect, but one that I don't think will have a huge impact on this current roster. You think of kind of the starting rotation heading into the year when you look at specifically edge. You got Anthony Lucas returning. Obviously, Cam Fountain is going to be really involved this year, the true freshman, same class as Cowan. Braylan Shelby, now another year in the system. And then you look at, some of these incoming guys too, Jakeem Stewart, gonna be a true freshman, not even a freshman yet, still a high schooler, and he's just making waves in spring camp, and he can play all across the defensive line, so not even like a true edge, but I wouldn't be shocked seeing him play more edge early on, and then as he continues to grow and get even stronger and stronger, kind of move maybe more inside throughout his collegiate career, but he can play anywhere now. I mean, the dude's a beast. And they're going to get him playing time. I mean, he's that good already that he will get playing time. So you figure kind of the 3 I mentioned, Jakeem Stewart's going to be fighting for playing time as well. Elijah Newby, who is one of the top in terms of star rating prospects in the 24 class, one of the top ones. And they have now moved him from linebacker to that edge room. So interesting because the linebacker room is pretty thin. But I think based on his body size, maybe his speed, and obviously even being at practice, we don't get to watch like them outside of a few individual drills. But obviously they felt that the move was good, and he is just getting rave reviews of that transition to edge. So there's another player that is in that edge role that almost like replaces Cowan in a way. Cowan leaves, they take Newby from linebacker, move him to edge, and then you still have Gus Cardova, who I think is one of the most underrated prospects in this, and not just USC's class, in the collegiate football class of 25. I think Gus Cordova is going to be a beast. He's not on campus yet. Jaden Ramos, who was a really late addition, but a sleepy, sneaky, good edge player that, again, 3-star, not known, but his production in college in Texas was elite. Both these kids being from Texas. Talking too fast. Neither of them are going to be on campus till June, so they're now joining in the summer for the program as they start ramping up. So the Cohen, again, not meaning any disrespect, but it was more of a transactional kind of, just not enough room to get playing time, and he can now go closer to home and probably get more playing time over at Kentucky. So we'll see what that looks like as kind of that progresses along. So that's really the only big. And then kicker, there was a kicker that hit the portal. So we'll keep an eye on that, who kind of the starting job will turn to. I'm not going to lie, I haven't scouted a ton of kickers yet, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know who will be in that role, which is an important role. I mean, very important. We saw last year, obviously, still lost some close games, but we did see an upgrade in special teams when you look at, punter winning the Ray Guy Award, the best punter in all of college football, flipping the field. I think the kicking game improved mightily from 23 to 24, so it'll be very important they find a kicker, and a few good ones have already entered. I mean, the Texas kid entered the portal, who obviously is probably more known now for missing some of those kicks against Arizona State in the playoff, but he has been like one of the best kickers in all of college throughout his career. Missouri kicker has entered the portal, who I think is very good, so I mean, there'll be options out there for USC if they want to add to that competition. So yeah, that's kind of so far the exits. We'll kind of see what comes in and transpires. And like I said, I'm going to put together kind of a top targets list. But we do know a few. I'm not going to get to all of them. They've already scheduled quite a few visits with who have entered. But I think when you look at the positions, again, I don't even want to say need. I don't think there's huge needs with this portal, which is great. If you have massive needs in the spring portal, that's not a good thing. Now, USC has added some big-name players in the spring in the past. Bear Alexander was one of them. Jordan Addison was one of them, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to think back that far now. So it's not like that's spelling disaster if you have to do that, because there are big-name players. But the fact that they don't have any glaring needs is obviously a benefit, and now you can add a few almost like just to get richer, right? Add some depth. But if we're looking at positions that do kind of need that depth, I think linebacker is certainly one of them, especially since they moved newbie down to edge. I don't think defensive line anymore, but offensive line, you could probably add a little bit more there. The wide receiver room, certainly. We know the top guys were set there, but you could certainly add depth and guys that can play special teams. Safety room, maybe add some depth. So when you look at some of the names out there for that, I think the one that everyone's talking about right now, it'll be interesting to see where he fits in. But Kennedy Urlacher, son of Hall of Fame linebacker Brian Urlacher, hit the portal from Notre Dame. Obviously a huge connection to Chad Bowden. Chad Bowden's been heavily involved in everyone's recruitment at Notre Dame, so he's got connections with all these guys. That relationship just doesn't end because, you move or change jobs. So there's a lot of momentum that Urlacher will end up committing to USC. Now, he's a safety size-wise for sure, but he can certainly play up in the box, kind of similar to like an Anthony Beavers, right? Now, Beavers obviously now has officially moved to the linebacker room, but he's still a fairly smaller linebacker. I think he'll be fine. So I think Urlacher can, I'm not saying he can be linebacker, but the style he plays, like his dad, he's got a nose for the football. He can hit, but 6'1", like 185, he's certainly the safety build. And at Notre Dame, though, he played all 14 games. Now, he wasn't their starting safety, but he did play some defense while there, and a big part of the special teams. So while safety certainly is not a need, the dude's a true freshman, so he's got plenty of playing time left. They're recruiting a lot of secondary guys. So again, I don't think that's necessarily a need, but you always want to have that depth. You want to have that competition. Grew up in Chandler, Arizona, so I think it's a kid that comes back to the West Coast. So nothing's official yet. He's supposed to visit this weekend I'm recording this on Friday. I might not publish this till Saturday, so it might be when this is published, he'll be on campus. But certainly the sentiment is that he's leaning to committing to SC again because of that Chad Bowden connection. So I think that is real solid there. Sticking with linebacker, two more guys I'll talk about quickly. Gary Bryant III, and I hopefully none of these guys commit before I actually publish this. Gary Bryant III, South Dakota standout, all conference. Now, obviously, that's a smaller school. When you look at competition, it's not like a Big Ten player, an SEC player, but production sometimes speaks for yourself. And the dude had a lot of production: 103 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 picks last year for South Dakota. So certainly a linebacker that is being looked at by a lot of teams. He has visits scheduled as Cal, West Virginia. Others have come through since kind of he first entered. So definitely, I think that is a name that should be on people's radar. Again, linebacker, you just need some depth. It's not like you need a guy from the portal to come in and immediately be able to play on day one. You get that depth piece that can potentially kind of be that role player. But if you need to, if any injuries, God forbid, something with Eric Gentry again, a guy that has, real playing time. All right, the last one quickly talk about is another linebacker. Kind of a surprising one to enter the portal. And this is one that I think, if needed, could come in and actually play right off the bat. And that's Boise State transfer Andrew Simpson. Again, very productive over the past 2 years. Recorded 112 tackles, 27 for loss, 9.5 sacks, 3 picks, 5 PBUs, 5 forced fumbles. So he could contribute immediately. Redshirt senior, so this is kind of, he's going somewhere to get some PT right away and build that draft stock. So while I still like the prospect of, or not like the prospect, I think the consensus is Gentry and Desmond Stevens kind of are your starting linebackers heading into this year. You're still doing a rotation. You're not playing 2 guys the entire game. And again, God forbid someone gets injured, having someone that not only had that experience, played in the college football playoff, and I know Boise State's not necessarily one of those programs like Big Ten or SEC, but they're the premier kind of tier 2 program when you look at like Mountain West or any of those other conferences. And so someone that's been able to do that, he's from St. John Bosco, so a local kid, and is scheduled to visit as well. So that's another one to watch that I think is a really good option for SC to add to that linebacker room. Because again, of all the positions, that's the one I think that they probably need to add the most. Again, there's no true needs, but certainly for depth, linebacker is one that you'd like to get another body. And if you can get someone with that kind of playing experience, it's going to push that room and can viably start if need be. That's kind of a home run. So look for Andrew Simpson from Boise State to be one the Trojans kind of go after tough and see if they can get that done. But again, I'll have more targets later this weekend. I'll have a written portion up on LAFBnetwork.com, and I'll jump back on here on the mic and break those down quickly. So last thing real quick, we'll keep this one short and sweet. Another crystal ball. So I don't think I've talked about it yet. I don't know if I'm not sure if Tim and Madman touched on it on the call-in show on Wednesday. But earlier in the week, Greg Biggins and Blair, I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but Blair, another insider for 24/7 Sports, both put in crystal ball predictions for the great linebacker Talalele to commit to USC. Now, he's still got a long way to go in his recruitment. Obviously, he now moved to Hawaii to finish his senior season there. But they put in that crystal ball prediction beginning of the week. Now, today, Friday, both our friends Scott Schrader and Steve Wiltfong, both of On3, also put in crystal ball recruiting predictions for Ely to commit to USC. Obviously, Oregon is still a big player in this. He's got an official visit. His last official visit of his slew of official visits is with Oregon right after USC. So they're still going to be duking it out. I think BYU is certainly a school to watch for, kind of similar to, we've talked about Rider Lions and how BYU is, I think, a real contender, real connection there. And And I think Oklahoma is a true dark horse. A few weeks ago, I talked about he kind of put these like teasers out where he posted 3 photos. One was his visit at Oregon, one was his visit at USC, and one was his visit at Oklahoma. So I think Oklahoma is a real contender and a true dark horse. But now 4 crystal balls, 2 from 24/7. I haven't even looked at rivals. 2 for On 3, both in USC's favor. I know Rob Ryan has had a huge impact in this recruitment. Obviously, Chad Bowden and the commitment to local and keeping kids home, even though he is in Hawaii now, but still kind of considered local. And then also the commitment and passion and dedication of basically moving in since he committed of Tamahui Tapui is a real deal as well, because he has definite ties and a relationship with Talanoa Ely, good friends off the field. I heard one rumor out there a few months ago that they were a package deal. I'm not saying that's 100% for sure, but that just shows that that really does have some sway potentially in getting this. So Ely, whatever ranking you look at, top 5 linebacker in the country, big body, can play side of the sideline, would be a great get and continue establishing that, loyal to the soil, keeping these homegrown kids here in California and just stacking this room and building it the right way through recruiting. So long way to go. Like I said, I think he has like 6 official visits, one being to UCLA. I mentioned Oregon, BYU. I mean, a bunch coming down the pipeline here starting in May and going through June. But things certainly seem to be trending for USC when maybe 2 months ago it felt like it was a slam dunk to Oregon. And now you flip to Pui. You've had all this momentum in Southern California, and that wave continues to be ridden by this recruiting momentum for the USC Trojans, and it looks to not be slowing down. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Let me know transfer portal targets you want to see. Are there guys that you're kind of paying attention to in the portal right now that you could see the Trojans and Lincoln Riley going after? Again, I don't think they'll be real active, but I think they'll look to add 2 to 3 guys in this portal and guys that aren't expected to be day one impact players, but can be if needed. And Andrew Simpson, obviously, from Boise State is one of those. So let me know what you guys think. As always, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Ryan Dyer. This is the USC LAFB show. Everyone have a blessed weekend. As always, fight on.